Hello, everybody. This is Pittsburgh Sports here. Today, we're going to talk about the fantasy waiver targets that are available after week 2 of NBA basketball.
All right, so we have a new slide here that we're going to be trialing out this week. So here we're showing how many games every team plays to help you decide who you want to pick up based on who's actually playing good games, getting your team more points, more stats that way. Quick things to point out, avoid picking up players on the Phoenix Suns. They only play 2 games. Other than that, a lot of teams are playing 4 games this week, so reference this if you're considering picking up a guy at the start of the week.
All right. So the first name we have is Kelly Ubrey Jr. He's been starting lately. He's been playing solid. And he's getting lots of shots. He's currently ranked 79th, and I think worth a league if he's available. Or worth a look if he's available. The next player on here is the GOAT, Alex Caruso. He's currently coming off the bench. He has a solid role, and the Bulls just they just lost a player. Patrick Williams is injured for the season, so he should see his shot selection go up.
Next up, we got Franz Wagner, which I still can't believe that's the way you say his last name. Playing for the Magic, he brought in 13 points, 3.7 rebounds, almost 2 assists, and 1 of each steals and blocks. Basically, this can be pretty good for your fantasy team. He's proven himself to be a great contributor to the Magic. They're doing decent. I'm actually sadly unaware of their record now, but he is on my fantasy team, and he's helping me not lose terribly. He's averaging like 24 fantasy points a week, and he is currently ranked 83, which places him at about 100.
Yeah, Franz Wagner has definitely been a good player, and when you have rookies, it seems like as they get deeper in the season, those stats only improve. So I like what he's done so far.
Yeah.
Next, we have Terence Mann. He was also on our players to pick up last week here as well. He's a quality player coming off the bench. He's a person who's not scared to shoot the ball, which is exactly what you want for fantasy basketball. Currently ranked 109th in fantasy leagues. So depending on how deep your league is, he's a player who I definitely would be looking at picking up. And as Kawhi Leonard's still injured, he's going to keep on having those looks and hopefully continuing to put up good fantasy numbers.
Next up, we got Terence Ross, another Orlando kid. His rostering is slightly lower compared to Franz Wagner, but he's still bringing good numbers, 16 fantasy points. I have a rule of thumb that I like to target the 20 fantasy points per week average. They really help you more than just sub 20, but he's still a contributor. He averages above 15 at least. He wouldn't hurt you by having him on the roster. So pick him up if you can.
Next up we have Cody Martin. He's a guy I actually did not realize was putting up such a good season until Alex pointed it out to me. So he's currently playing on the Charlotte Hornets. And look at these stats, like 10.3 points, 4.2 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.3 blocks. Like, this guy is stuff in the stat sheet, ranked 85th overall in Yahoo leagues, but he's only rostered in 17% somehow. He started off the season super strong. So if he's available in your league and you're looking for a guy who's been putting up north of 20 points like Batu was talking about, I'd be picking this guy up because he's been showing up so far.
Yeah, not sure how much longer it's going to keep going, but for now it hasn't stopped with Cody Martin.
Yeah, ride the Cody Martin train. Next we'll be talking about players rostered than less than 15% of leagues. Also, just to give the preface like we did last time, depending how deep your league is, these are players you should not be picking up for your fantasy teams. If you're in a 8-person league or something smaller than that, don't have any of these people on your fantasy roster.
Again, in our leagues, all of these players would be considered gods. They're like we can't roster them, but
yeah, these are the dream players to roster.
Yeah, when you're at 20 teams with 260 players drafted, these guys they make you cry when you win with the 14.7s Josh Hart puts on table, and again 15.20 fantasy points average. He is pictured. What a great guy. Again, going off of my Terence Ross point too, I don't like a player scoring less than 20 fantasy points, but if you're in a pickle in a week where one of your players are injured and you need to fill that in. You want to beat the guy you're going up against. Not a terrible pick. He will show up. At least he'll give you some points. He wouldn't give you the nice assist and rebound multipliers maybe, but he will do decent.
Actually, in the last 2 games Josh Hart's played since returning from an injury he had at the start of the season, he has put up above 20 fantasy points each game, and he's a guy known for getting some of those rebounds too. So I think he's a good sleeper at this point for sure.
Yeah, what team does Josh Hart play on again?
I don't know.
Remember?
I think he's playing on if you think of the best team in the NBA, then I don't know what names come to mind for myself. I think of the Pelicans. So yeah, that's
I hope
elite team, elite players.
That. Just one person. I hope there's at least one
just
person that disagrees with that.
Go off in the comments of what you think of Pelicans 1-5 start. One of their best fans, some guy named, he's on this video. He said, "I'm going to watch this game until that's when we can start recording the video." Then they go down by 10 points. He's all of a sudden, you know what? I'm not watching the game. Let's record the video now. Even their fan base is.
When I stopped watching the game, they actually pulled it to within 2 points at one point. So
they lost by 12, I think. So
we lost by 6. So
same thing.
Close game against the number 1 team in the East right now.
All right, so moving on to Shake Milton, 76ers. Whatever's going on in that team. Personally, I wouldn't touch the 76ers because you never know what's going to come out of it. But individual effort, he is averaging quite high. As you can see, he's putting on 14 points and assists, almost 5 rebounds, which can be really valuable because they got a good multiplier to them. Almost a steal and no blocks, which... what can you do? But if he is around there to pick up in your league available, go for it.
Nice. Next, we got George Hill. He's playing on the Bucks right now, and he's averaging 19.5 fantasy points, which is, that's surprisingly good for someone rostered only 7% of leagues. He's also got 2 games at the end of this week, so he's maybe worth a look around then.
Next up, we got Furkan Korkmas. He is rostered pretty poorly. Again, when you come to the less than 15% range, you should expect that. He is a role player. He's kind of a relief. He goes in, puts up shots, 8 points, almost 3 assists, a little shy of 2 rebounds and a steal. Good averages for him. He averages 17 fantasy points, which is kind of higher than guys like they're rostered higher, like Terence Ross in the previous example, but he can still put up numbers. So again, when we're at this range, probably not like preferable that you pick these guys, but if you must, can be a good contributor.
Yeah, for sure. Patrick Beverly, I guess we actually missed on saying what percentage he was rostered, but rostered in 5% of leagues is correct. So yeah, just looking at his recent games here, in his recent 3 games he's played before the one today, he's put up above 20 in each game. And when you have a guy who's only rostered in 5% of leagues, having a guy who's consistently getting above 20, putting up some consistent stats, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, good defensive numbers, which we're always going to get from Patrick Beverly. I think he's a good guy who's available in most of your leagues who might be able to help kind of push you over that edge. And
it's all about perspective. Kent Bazemore, I think he's rostered nowhere, but Beverly's rostered in almost twice as many leagues as him. So, but anyway, Bazemore has he's been averaging 15.3 fantasy points, and he's getting it done across all categories. So again, if you're in a league where Bazemore is someone you're considering, he's definitely worth a look. For sure, Bazemore is he's done decent. So next I'm going to talk about a guy from my home team, New Orleans Pelicans. So he's a 2nd round draft pick, picked 35th overall. And just kind of because of the injuries that our team has been dealing with Zion Williamson being out, he's found his way into the starting lineup primarily based on his incredible defensive ability. So yeah, as he's kind of been starting, he's been able to give some defensive stats like we see with the 1.1 steals, 0.6 blocks. He's only rostered in 1% of leagues so far, so he's probably available in the majority of leagues.
In the game he played tonight against the Knicks, he put up a 31.1 fantasy point game, having 12 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. So I think, as the Pelicans are still holding on to these injuries, he could be a guy worth picking up just because he is getting those consistent minutes and will be able to give you a little bit of a boost.
Thanks everyone for watching. Stay safe. Also, drop a comment if you can name 3 or more Pelican players. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear from you. Just 3. Just 3.
Absolutely. That's just uncalled for.
How about this? I honestly, genuinely, so many players are leaving the Pelicans that I can only name 2 right now. And except for BI and Zion, I want you to drop a comment and name them.
I mean, the fact that we have 2 Pelicans players on the current slide, I hope they can at least name that. But
hey, they're so negligible that we might just forget about them sometimes. So,
okay,
go down to the comments.
Yeah, just really rubbing in that 1 and 5 star.
I mean, I think it was necessary, but yeah, stay safe, everyone.